For your CCT, you will create a website highlighting transformations of the following functions representing amusement park rides. I'll show you an example using an exponential function. This is an example of one photo in which I used an amusement park figure. It doesn't have to be a ride, but in this case it was this mountain. So I used two different exponential functions to model this. I will show you how this was done. So firstly, I make sure that I am logged into Desmos under my account. You must do the same, otherwise you won't be able to save your project. And then I had found the image online, which I can now add to Desmos by clicking here, adding image. So you should first download the image that you want and then import it to Desmos. After that, I knew that the parent function I wanted to use was 2 to the power of x, so I went in and typed that in. Now I have to figure out what the transform function will be. So I went ahead and created a new function, adding all the transformation parameters and adding sliders for these. By first modifying a and k, I chose the correct shape for the math model I wanted to use. You can play around with your values if you want to do this experimentally. So I'm creating here a vertical stretch, horizontal stretch. So depending on what you want to model, you might want to use both or some of these. So you want to have first the shape, and then you can move your function up or down, or to the right, to the left, depending on what you want to model. So I'm pretty happy now with this part of the orange graph. I can go and change, if I click on this setting buttons, I can go and change the thickness of my line if I want to make it more obvious, and the color as well, depending on what you would like. Now I need to rewrite this properly with the function 2 to the power of x. So I have all my parameters here, a, k, d, and c. So I went ahead and manually typed this in for the transformed exponential function, and I no longer need my cursors, so I can delete these. Now I need to limit the domain of this function. To do so, I will use the squiggly brackets next to my function g of x, and I can state, so I want x is approximately minus, you can play around, but about from minus 5.2 maybe, so minus 5.2, smaller than x, which is smaller than approximately, let's say, we'll try minus 0.2, you can play around with this value, so I think it could have been a little bit longer here, and then maybe minus 1.8. So here I have the left side of the mountain modeled by an exponential function. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the right side. So basically, it'll simply be a translation of g of x on the x-axis, and then shift it a little bit to the left. So I have this new function here. I'll just rewrite its proper equation. So I'm going to call this new function maybe h of x equal to, and I want to write it as a function of the exponential function and not this way. So I'll stick the negative here, and then it was plus 2.4, again, or plus 2.6. Okay, so I'm going to now, in the same way, limit the domain. So in this case, for h of x, I'm just going to stretch this out so we can see. I'm going to have different values of x. So I'm going to go from approximately, you can play around with it a little bit just by looking. So this was too much. Okay, so now we can, again, change the settings if you want the same color, if you want it to be thicker. So you can play around with that. And then I have now my math model. I can hide the parent function, but I will leave it there. And then we can see an example of a math model for this mountain. Now in the project, I will need to include these things. So I have two choices. I can use a website builder that I already know, like maybe Weebly or Wix or Google Sites, or I can simply use HTML and host that on GitHub. If you're using HTML, you feel free to use ChatGPT or any other AI tool to help generate your code for you. So that's what I will choose to demo here. So I'm asking ChatGPT to create the template for the web page. Okay, so I'm using these keywords. So the important keywords, HTML code. The word responsive means that it will be changed depending on if I look at it on a cell phone or a website. I'm asking it to use w3.css, which is a nice CSS framework. It will look a little bit nicer. It's up to you if you want that or not. And then I'm kind of giving it the requirements. This is my choice. You don't have to choose the same title. Now this here. So I want a responsive iframe for this graph. So I'm just going to go and get the code from Desmos. So I'm going to make sure to save my project here. This saves in your files. So if you're ever looking for your graph, it would be here. And if I click on this share button, I can choose to share my saved graph. So I'm going to click here and choose embed graph. So this gives me the iframe code. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to give it to ChatGPT so that it gives me my site. And let's see what it gives us. Okay, so I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to go test it out in Notepad. So I'm pasting it here, file, save as, just making sure I'm saving it as an HTML file. So I'm going to click all files. I'm just going to put it in my downloads for now. And I'm going to call it test project.html and save. So now if I go to my documents, or I put it in my downloads for now, I can see it here, double click on it, it should open here in Chrome. So I kind of like it. There's the main title, exponential function, and here's the graph. You can see if you click on it, then whoever's looking at the site can come and see all the information here. And then these are the two paragraphs. So transformations, I will replace this dummy content with the name of the transformations that I used. So for example, if I did a vertical stretch of factor 2 or whatever, I will describe in detail what transformations were done and how I've restricted the domain and range to model this function. So essentially that's kind of the project, but you'll do it with all the required functions. Now, once you have the web page, you can just set it up on your online. So again, this is a choice if you're choosing HTML or if you want to use your prerequisite knowledge. So you should already, you might already have a GitHub page. If you don't remember where it is, just always go to your root file, and then you can click on your home. When you get lost, always go to home, and then you should be able to find. So mine was called functions, and you should be able to find your originally updated code here. So if you want to edit this code, you can simply click on your file and then edit, and then you can just replace the content that was originally there if you had tried to make a web page before, commit changes, and that's it. So just a reminder again, if you go back to your home, you should see deployments. So again, go to the, you probably would only have one. If you go to your deployments, here you'll see your website. I see my old website here. I'm not seeing the new one. Just remember that it takes some time. It can take up to minutes before it replaces the one that's existing there. So after my third refresh, I can now see my exponential function. So obviously, for the project, you will need to describe, talk about the function, give the function name in detail in here. So the AI part or the ChatGPT part is the coding that is allowed. this has to come from you.